Okay. This looks like a streak of dirt. Let's all say it together. Haley cannot blend, but I just went back and tried to blend it out and it won't. So just ignore this side of my face, okay? We'll sit like this. It's not as bad on this side. Okay, hey guys, thanks for coming back. If the lighting is a little bit off, it's because it's like 7:30 in the morning and I don't normally film this early, but I've found that my eyes don't tend to water until like the midday afternoon period, and then like late at night they get their act together. So we're filming early in the morning and late at night from here on out. So this is Pan Those Eyeshadows. I'm so excited for this update. You are going to see this video a few days early, but it's still like, it's basically been like a month. So I just wanted to go ahead when I get new pans, hint, hint, I get like that itch where I'm like, I gotta film the video because I want my new roll-ins. So that's what we're doing right now. So the first shades, oh no, I have misplaced them. No, I didn't. First, let's do our color story. So this is what we were working on. And the more I look at this color story, the more I'm like, this is really appropriate for this time of year, is it not? So this is the ICYMI shade from ColourPop Sweet Talk palette. This is also from ColourPop. If I'm not mistaken, it's from Blush Crush, but I could be wrong. It's the shade Blossom Up. Underneath that is the Tarte Sugar Rush BU palette, and it's the shade Be Brilliant. Underneath that is from Profusion Chocolates, and it's the shade Glory. And then underneath that is the Morphe 35OM Nature Glow palette, and those do not have shade names, so I have labeled it B3. So let's actually get into the shades. So the first one is the most exciting. This has been in here the longest, and I know you guys know what I'm talking about, but we finally have Pan on the ICYMI shade. I am so happy. So I used it a total of 8 times this past month to bring our running total up to 31 uses to hit Pan. Now let me also say, I saw Alex, I think her channel name is Alejandra Lizette. She made this point in her update, and I think it's a really good point to reiterate. That's just 31 like instances, like me sitting down to do my makeup. So that doesn't, you might as well double every number that I give you because I do have 2 eyes. And then 2, like sometimes like with this shade, I would wear this in my outer V, and then like when you would go to blend, like it would fade and I'd have to build it back up. So take like the number with a grain of salt. I just think that's important to throw out there. But yeah, I'm just so tickled. So 31 uses and we have Pan. Okay, the next shade is Blossom Up, and no Pan on it, but I think you can tell there is a dip starting to form. So I have used this, I used this a total of 4 times this past month to bring our grand total up to 6 uses. So not like the most exciting. It is a really pretty shade. I like that it's like a pink shade with like a gold flip, but I just haven't been gravitating towards those types of tones, and so I don't know how much I'll want to reach for it in this next month, but maybe, I don't know. I'm not gonna make any promises. All right, the next one is the Tarte Sugar Rush BU palette, and again we had the shade Be Brilliant. So this past month I used this an additional 3 times to bring our total up to 10 times, and you can see we have a nice shiny pan there. So I think if I like manipulate it, you guys can tell just how shallow these pans are. We were all right when we were thinking like, okay, this is very shallow. I'm not mad at it. I still like this palette even with like the shallow shades. Like the price point was still good. I think it was like around the $20 mark. This shade was one where I really, since it was so dark, I never used it as like an actual lid shade. I would just put it in my outer V, and then like, yeah, when I would go to blend it out, it would kind of like fade away and I'd have to layer it back up. But I'm glad to see it roll out, but it was like a good shade. Like I did enjoy it. Okay, then we have the Morphe 35OM, and we were working on B3 right here. I don't know if you can tell on camera. I can see like a bit of a dip forming in person. I have hit pan on 2 other shades within this palette, and these pans are deeper than I thought. So with this Morphe one, it got rolled in last month if I'm not mistaken. I have used it 12 times since then. It's just been a really great, like I said, it's like a perfect like grounding, just initial transition shade. Not with like every look, but with most looks that I've been doing. Based on hitting pan in those other 2 shades, I would say around like the 20 use mark, the 20 to 30 use mark, I think I could have pan on it. Plus these other 2 shades that I hit, it's my matte cream that I set my eye primer with, and then this one is the shade that I use in my eyebrows. So I just use more product out of these, so I hit pan in these pretty quickly. This, even though it's like a transition shade and you're using more of it than like the outer V, I'm not using as much of it as I did the other 2. Okay, the last shade to talk about comes from the Profusion Chocolates palette, and it is the shade Glory. And so I use this a total, oops, if you could see it, I think you can see like the dip that is starting to form in it. I have used this got rolled in last time, and I've used it 4 times in total. So the shades in here, the shimmer shades, are really soft. Like if you use your finger or a brush, you can just like feel that dip forming, if that makes sense. And I have heard that these pans are shallow, so maybe by next month we could have this rolled out. I am really enjoying this shade. It's such a fun like summer shade. It's almost like a brown orange with then like a yellow sheen to it. Really appropriate for this time of year. So I do promise you that by the next update, we will start doing pan percentages, but I was just not prepared enough to do that. But I do want to show you some looks that I had been doing. So the first look you're seeing is I used that shade Glory, and then I used my Subculture palette, and I have ROXY in my crease and All Star on my outer V. I really like how that turned out. It really muted the like orangey kind of bronzy aspect to Glory. Okay. The next one you're seeing is kind of the same look. It's all the same except for I just, instead of using Glory with Subculture, I used Blossom Up, and I did really enjoy that look as well. And then if I scroll through here, now this look was my favorite, and this was so helpfully suggested by Laura and Aaron as well, I believe. But I just used that Morphe B3 shade in my crease. I put the ICYMI shade in my outer corner, and then I put Blossom Up on my lids and just kind of blended them together. I loved that. That saved the day, because y'all know I was like just over that ICYMI shade, but this look really loved it. Okay, then the next one you're seeing is, this is how I was using the Sugar Rush BU palette. So you can tell, I'm not sure of all the shades. I do know they all came from my LORAC Mega Pro 1. I know the lid shade you're seeing is that shade Cashmere. This is how I was able to finish off Cashmere and hit pan on the Be Brilliant shade. So it's just right there in my outer third, as you can see. And then the last look that I want to show you is one that I tried. It was a little too warm for my taste, but I also think that's because I'm wearing a red shirt as well. So I put the Morphe B3 shade in my crease. I put ICYMI in my outer third, and then I put the Glory shade from Profusion on my lid. It's not a bad look. It was just a little too red for my taste. Okay, so now that that is out of the way, we will pull up our 2 new palettes, and then I will go grab those, and then we will pick out the shades. So, why are you giving me a number I can't even get? Okay, let's try this again, now that it's working. Shake yourself. Okay, fine. Number 12 and number 2. Let me go grab those palettes and I will be right back. Okay, so palette number 12 is actually the Juvia's Place, the Trad palette, and now I've heard this is now discontinued, but I'm not quite sure. But I did look online. If you go to their website, like some of their palettes just say sold out, like add me to the email list, like it's still there, it's still pictured. The Deuce and the Trad palette are no longer like even pictured on the website, so very sad about that, because I've absolutely fallen in love with this palette. Now, I really want to pick some of these shimmer shades, but like these two are very similar to like the Glory shade that we're working on. This blue is just far too dark for what I would really want as a lid shade right now. This one is what I was originally going to go with, but this is so similar to Electric from Subculture, and I'm still working on Electric, that I don't want to bring that one in. So I'm actually going to bring in the like acid like green shade that kind of just blends into the packaging. If I hold it back here, maybe you can get like a good idea, like representation of the color, but I did swatch it out for you. So it is this like acid green shade. I really think it's going to come in handy using it in conjunction with Subculture. So I'm really happy to have pulled this palette. I'm excited to get more use out of it just in general. I have played around with this shade a few times, and typically how I use it is like as a first like initial crease shade, and then go in with these two in my transition area as well. So then the next one is what I have called my 26mm pan palette. Now I just did a tour of my singles, and this was in like a different Z palette. I put it in this ABH magnetic palette because the magnets in here are strong, y'all. Like, you put something in one of these and you are not getting it out anytime soon. So I thought it was better to put these shades in here because I'm like not taking them out as frequently as I would be like other palettes and rearranging things. But the shade that I picked actually comes from the Violet Voss Nicol Concilio collab palette, and it's the shade Zozo. So that palette had like square pans. I dug out the shades that I wanted from it, passed it along to a friend, and like repressed the shadows that I wanted. So this is just like a really pretty like light gold shade. I don't know, that's always like a favorite shade when I do open that palette, so I figured why not bring it in now. So here's our little quintet that we will be working on for the next month. I'm really excited. This is not as like cohesive as a color story as we've had in the past, but I don't typically try to build a shade or build a look with all 5 shades. Like, I really just play around with them as I want to, and I feel like that kind of keeps it interesting that they are all different and not like the perfect color story, if that makes sense. But that's it. That's all I have for you guys, and I thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.